Right now, let's talk to our political editor, Peter Carwell, and get the latest political roundup. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, it was an awful lot of focus on you, Les. I mean, it's still on the front page of some papers. Talk about chaos. We just spoke to a guy called, styles himself as Captain Gatso, who's been leading those so-called Blade Runners, tearing down cameras, even getting the support of the likes of Ian Duncan-Smith, a Tory MP, former Tory leader. There's no doubt at all this is a hugely, hugely politically divisive topic, isn't it?
Very much so, and not just in London as well. We have Susan Hall, who is opposing Sadiq Khan for the mayoralty of London. She's the Conservative candidate. We've heard Cox of Reform UK saying he would stop this on day one, but also at various different bits of the country as well, where there are low traffic neighbourhoods or low emission zone, 8 or 9 of them. We've also got a big split in the Labour Party as well. Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, putting this on pause, and Keir Starmer and other frontbenchers in Labour saying that Sadiq Khan should think about this, should perhaps reverse his policy, do U-turn, but doesn't look as if he's going to do that at all. So very politically divisive, especially, interestingly, within Labour.
Well, yes, I mean, that's the thing. The interesting thing is, when we were on Sunday, we're trying to get someone, sorry, Monday, ahead of the Tuesday launch, let's get someone from Labour, defending it. Obviously, Sadiq Khan's office don't bother replying, so, work around. Couldn't find anybody, apart from a green activist, who was willing to come on air and defend it. Everyone's just going, I'm not going to speak out about it. I don't want anything to do with this. They don't want to be sort of, tarred with the same brush, do they?
Well, forget the air quality. It's politically toxic, Julia. I mean, in this particular issue, there are so many people who just don't want to touch this with a barge pole because they know that it's a vote loser. They know that in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, that by-election that was basically lost over ULEZ. They know that there are plans to expand this in other parts of the country, and many politicians giving this pause, saying, hold on a second, is the march towards this eco-activism actually the right thing? Because whilst we care about air quality, let's have a look at the proper statistics of this. Let's find the truth in this, not what Sadiq Khan has told someone to write, but at what is actually the truth, and a lot of other areas of the country rethinking this policy.
Indeed. Again, you could, as everyone says, if in doubt, fleece the motorist again. And motorists, by the way, are mostly most of the country, and they vote. It is extraordinary. Let's also talk about this Home Office announcement of a ban on certain types of machetes and knives. I mean, these huge, big knives. We saw some horrific footage of Notting Hill Carnival over the weekend with someone running through with a massive... I can't imagine what, most people there, the vast majority of people, they're just there to have fun. I've been to the Notting Hill Carnival many times in my youth. I'm 55, of course, I'm not going anymore. But it has been one of the most violent we've seen in, I think, 7 years, 8 stabbings, and numerous, hundreds of arrests. I think most of us would have thought, when were machetes legal on our streets?
Well, indeed, and there are also 4 Home Secretaries who've talked about this. Theresa May, Priti Patel, Sajid Javid and Amber Rudd have all talked at various stages over the last 13 years about banning these knives. There's been a couple of crackdowns previously. But what's interesting about, well, there's so many things that are interesting about these knives that serve no practical purpose whatsoever. When the perpetrators actually use them, they're sometimes actually using them to distract the people they are mugging from their faces because they don't want to be identified, or perhaps they're wearing a balaclava. I was hearing about someone earlier who was looking them up online, and the algorithm on Amazon to buy one of these knives at one stage actually had, would you also like to add a balaclava to your order?
Most customers who buy a machete also purchase a balaclava.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you couldn't make it up.
Absolutely extraordinary.
The fact is that these knives shouldn't be there, but how do you actually get rid of them? So yes, crackdown in the law, lots of people welcoming this, but we've heard a lot of this before. Labour's Yvette Cooper, the Shadow Home Secretary, saying against her opposite number, Suella Braverman, actually we've had 6 crackdowns in the last 7 years by the Conservative government on this particular...
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, I think, with virtually everything this government announces, and over the summer, we're going to have a week on this, and a week on migrants, a week on crime, a week on health. Virtually everything they announce, people are going, you've been in power for 13 years, why haven't you done something sooner? Just finally, let's talk about James Cleverly, the Foreign Secretary. He's in China in meeting with his foreign opposite number in Beijing. There's been some criticism of the government's strategy with China. Are they a hostile state? The answer, of course, is yes. Do you say that out loud? Diplomatically, you say no.
Well, indeed, although there was quite a strong slapdown from Rishi Sunak in May at the G7. The G20 is actually next week in India, so Chinese leaders will be meeting Rishi Sunak. But yes, James Cleverly in China, highest ranking government person for the last 5 years in China. What sort of message does he deliver? He's meeting, as you say, the foreign minister of China, also the vice president of China. And I mean, you just cannot ignore China. There's absolutely no way you can do it. But certainly he'll be bringing things up like Hong Kong, like the Uyghur Muslims, and trying to forge some sort of a relationship.
Thank you so much indeed. Peter Carwell, Talk Radio's political editor.